9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Okay. What's feedback time? Hey Barry, you there? You there, Barry?
Yeah, I'm here, Leo.
Oh, cool, man. All right, you're on the air, Hope Mountain Radio.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, good to talk to you, Leo, and greetings to everybody up there in the Takilma Nation.
Yeah, that's right. We're hanging in here. We're having fun, and it was a gorgeous day today.
Oh yeah, here too.
Yeah. So this is all being recorded, just so you know.
Okay.
So we can rebroadcast it. We can do lots of things with this, and so we were talking the other day. We're talking about Canyon and your involvement with the Canyon community in 50 years now.
Yeah, all these anniversaries are coming up. 50 years here, 50 years there, but sure enough, it's been 50 years in Canyon.
Yeah.
And they, in fact, they republished John Vanderzee's book, Canyon.
Now,
so there's a.
Okay,
believe it, that thing is in print again.
Okay, well, yeah, so Barry, can you speak up a little bit?
Well, okay.
Because
that better?
yeah, if I turn my gain up too much, I get feedback, and I don't want that.
Uh-huh.
Okay, that's good. That's good. So, so tell me about the book. Where do you want to start in this adventure?
Well, the whole thing with Canyon, it was the kind of where we drew the line with all the urban renewal stuff, and I mean, it's just an endless story. But basically, what happened was we kind of rescued a very old community in the hills in the East Bay, and infused it with new life. And we're still here. There's 50 years later, it's thriving. Has a terrific public school, has a post office, and that's it. That's all we have. We maintain our own road, and we don't have any elected officials or anything like that. It's an unincorporated area, part of Counterculture County. And it's actually the oldest settlement in the East Bay because of the redwood groves that were here before they logged them. They're still here, but they've been logged. This is all old second growth.
Yeah. So you started the community. You put an ad in what was it? The Berkeley Barb.
Oh yeah. Well, that's my personal stake in the community. Is the Canyon Water Brothers, which I organized in the mid-'60s, when the land that I was renting suddenly became an item of interest for the water company, the East Bay Municipal Utility District, who are gradually absorbing all the land around here. Anyway, we set up an organization to compete with them and outbid them. And so we were able to stop that whole process right there, and people started, you couldn't get a bank loan or anything like that. You couldn't get a building permit. But people just didn't care. They scraped together a little cash and managed to keep things going.
So you guys built your own community, your own buildings without any permits?
Well, not without any permits. A couple of people were successful in getting permits, but by and large, I'd say, yeah.
You didn't care. You didn't want to have a permit.
Not really.
Not
no.
necessarily, right. And how many people were there when, like in 1964? What was happening then?
'64?
Yeah.
Well, in '64, it was the Port Chicago Vigil. The Naval Weapons Depot at Port Chicago was where they were shipping all the napalm to Vietnam and Central America. And so Jim and Risha Bernard moved up here with their family from Paraguay and organized the only organized resistance to the Vietnam War during all those years. And they used to provide a crash pad for these kids on Telegraph Avenue, and then they would have to go out and vigil. You know, they'd have to go out and non-violently put up with all the abuse and everything that you're going to get heaped on you in the little town of Clyde. So anyway, that was enough of an irritant to get the Barnards kind of run out of the country. They went down to Central America for a while, and so things kind of blew out. But you know, those were wonderful times. I mean, so many people came through here with such good intentions. You know, it was all about really.
Whoa. So I'm sorry about that feedback.
Yeah.
I've got a couple things here going on in the studio. I'm doing some juggling here.
Yeah, I just didn't want to bogart the whole thing.
No, that's cool enough. I'm just I'm trying to get all my ducks in a row here. This is a new thing we're doing here, trying to get this what would you call it, the video. Let me see. I'm going to try this for a minute. Okay. Now let's see how that is. So they were doing the vigil at Port Chicago.
What's that again, about Port Chicago?
Yeah, they're doing a vigil at Port Chicago.
Well, that's right. Every day they go out there with a little 2CV, you know, and then 6 on 2CV, loaded with vigilers, and they'd march around in front of the train station there, and various people would come around and abuse them one way or another, and they were under strict orders not to respond in any way, and did an amazing job, really. I didn't join them because I just didn't trust myself to get cool under those conditions. But I have nothing but respect and admiration for those who did.
Yeah, and that was in 64, 65?
Yeah, right there, right at the height of it all. They were ramping it up. Yeah, they dropped more napalm and high explosives and you name it on mostly the south side of Vietnam, mostly so-called our side, than all the countries in World War II combined. I mean, it was unbelievable. They had these enormous bombers, you know. They were 65,000-pound bomb loads. So they just didn't quit. They were running them out of Thailand. They were running them out of Guam. And they were just dumping. And somehow it didn't work. It just didn't work.
No, it didn't. Now they're dumping 2,4-D on all our crops.
Yeah.
Yeah. And okay, I straightened out that technical problem I had just a little ago. So
Oh, good.
I'm gonna have, I'm getting a message from Robert, and he said that your voice wasn't coming through. So let's just can we back up a little bit, and we can talk about Canyon and the book, and just kind of recap what we just talked about a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're just talking about the book by John Vanderzee called Canyon, which originally was published 50 years ago. And it's still relevant. And so the publishers in Berkeley have reissued it. It's a nice little kind of paperback version of it. So I just wanted to mention that. So for anybody that's really interested in the Canyon story, there it is. John Vanderzee, by the way, is an excellent writer. He wrote the book on the Golden Gate Bridge, the gate, and he also wrote a book on the Dow Wilson murder in Oakland.
Oh, yeah.
Painters Union.
Mm-hmm.
A little esoteric little history for you. But that's how we met, actually. He found out I was a Wobbly, and so he wanted to, touch bases and talk about flavor stuff.
Yeah, well, you got a lot. You got a lot of stories about the Wobblies too.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah. And just for people who don't know, that's Industrial Workers of the World, right?
That's right.
The union.
Yeah, that's right. The Fighting Rebel Band of Labor.
Yes. Well.
Yeah, Judy Barry was a Wobbly.
Yeah, Judy Barry. She's famous around here.
Yeah.
Do you know about Daryl Cherney and the bombing in Oakland and all that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Judy Barry was with him. And
Yeah.
the cops planted the bomb underneath the front seat.
Yeah.
You know that whole story, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, Daryl Cherney's come through this community, and last February he came through here, and I got to interview him a little bit, and that was pretty fun.
Yeah.
And he's still doing his thing, which is pretty cool. After all that. But we got a lot.
He ended up with a few bucks from the taxpayer.
Yeah, he got some money. He got a settlement from the I don't know who it was, the FBI or whoever.
Yeah, the FBI.
And he was able to.
Only person ever to do that.
Yeah, he was able to come up with enough money to get himself set up a little bit. His home. He's got a homestead somewhere up, I think, in Humboldt County somewhere.
Oh, good.
And so he's still doing the music thing, and he's kind of a pretty good songwriter actually. He has some catchy tunes.
Okay, way to go, Joe. I wish you rain.
Yeah.
Plenty of rain.
So you what else? You the canyon thing was happening. Were you guys? I saw a video that was taken of you in 1973. It was a Channel 5, I think it was, in the Bay Area.
Oh, that one, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that was like.
A pretty good one.
That was about nine years after you guys got started, right?
Well, maybe 5 or 6 years.
5 or 6 years, okay. And so that means you must have been newsworthy. There must have been a lot of interest in what was happening in Canyon.
Oh yeah, well that really is the crux of the story right there. If you really get into the period, the building departments and the health departments were being used to close anything resembling a commune.
Exactly,
And
right.
there were a couple of well-financed ones. There was Morning Star, which had, there was this guy named Lou Gottlieb. He was a bass player for the Gateway Singers, a folk group that played the Hungry Eye and around San Francisco and stuff. So they had a little bit of money, and and he kind of opened the land up. He just sort of gave it to God and opened it up for people to stay there. So he caught hell. They closed him down. And then there was another one, Wheeler Ranch. And that one, some kid that had some money, he tried to do it. And they went after him and closed him down. That was up in Sonoma. So when they came after Canyon, it was a foregone conclusion, you know. They'll just snuff us right out. But it didn't happen that way because there are a lot of savvy people in the middle of, Berkeley. I mean, it was the time of the unrest, shall we say, in Berkeley, and we had some real heavy hitters from all over the world, coming through, and so they came up with some really good ideas and some good strategies, and anyway, we had friends in the press and the media, the TV crews and stuff. We knew some of them, and they loved the story, the David and Goliath thing, and the Americana and all of that. So it's just, and after all, what were we fighting for but private property, for Christ's sake? You can't, you can't even, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it was just a perfect storm for us.
Yeah.
To be able to survive it.
Well, from my point of view, it's all about freedom. That's the bottom line. Just freedom. Leave us the fuck alone.
Exactly.
Basically, and all the stuff. All these issues, marijuana. The whole, everything. That it's all comes down to freedom. And then they're waving the flag every 4th of July, saying how we're the land of the free, and I say bullshit. Right.
Well,
and that's
stretching it a bit.
Yeah. Now,
we got 2.4 million people who are officially in slavery, in bondage in the prisons. You can't call a country free that leads the world in that one.
Exactly. We have more people in prisons than anybody, and it has a lot to do. Yeah. Well, I know you understand the dynamics. It gets to be an industry,
Well, sure.
and then
but what people don't notice is that slavery never ended. They just modernized it.
Yeah.
They put it on a more profitable footing. Slavery was really rocking, man, back at the time of the Civil War. They had more slaves then than they ever did. They had 4 million of them, or something like that. And so it was a huge enterprise. It was worth more collectively than all of the factories and you name it. Just see, I've been watching Jon Stewart. He did a bit on this yesterday, but it was really great. But, it's like slavery did not end when they simply said that you don't have to pay for them anymore. The state will do it for you. The state will arrest these people only during the prime of their lives and put them to work making license plates and under some private corporation or another who can pocket the profits, and the taxpayers will provide for the housing and the food and all the rest of it. And you can have people of any race, because that's what it says in the 16th Amendment. It says, no person shall be deprived of life, liberty, or property, not period, but without due process. That simply means drag them in front of a judge. Then you can deprive them of life, liberty, or property. And they've done it regularly, and they continue to do it. And it's much more profitable that way than when they had to keep the slaves alive during the off-season. Now they just don't care. They let them die on the street.
That's right. And the other thing about it is the bankers, the central banks, they took control of the economy. And it's been a big fight in the history of this country, like, Alexander Hamilton and Aaron Burr and all that. That was all about trying to keep the central bankers out. And now we got the Federal Reserve.
Yeah. Well, that's where the rot starts.
Yeah. So were you hanging out in Oakland during the Occupy situation?
Not very much. I was busy out here working on my place, but I did get in a few times, And it was a beautiful scene. It was, generally speaking, there wasn't a whole lot going on. Usually it was just a bunch of people down at the plaza there, and speakers and musicians, and a lot of fun. But if you had other things to do, there wasn't any particular urgency at the end there at any particular time, until the shit really hit the fan.
Yes. So what's happening in Canyon these days?
Well, these days, let's see, it's been gorgeous weather. Weather's so good it's bad. And, I don't know, it's definitely springtime. I guess we're probably a little bit ahead of you there.
Yeah.
But it's been beautiful, warm days up in the 70s. And we've had just enough rain to kind of squeak by for a while. So it's beautiful. It's great. And as far as organizing into anything, I don't see it much right now. People are just kind of getting through the winter,
Yeah, but the community is still together. There's still the school's still happening and all that.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's thriving. We've had a generation of kids come back, go out there in the real world and and come back. And so we've got some great energy here right now.
Cool. And so you still have the some of the original Water Brothers?
Yeah, we do. We're getting a little thin around the edges, but we're still here. And a lot of our kids are too, so yeah, there's no sign of going away.
And there's still no building permits?
Well, for some people, they've been successful. There's a couple of pretty good projects going on in town. And I think they're probably going to be permitted. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
But I'm not sure. I'm not handling the jobs. I'm kind of, shall we say, retired.
Yeah, right. Well, you've done a lot. You have a lot of things going on. And well, when I first met you, we were organizing around occupying Diablo Canyon.
Oh man, now that's a job we never finished, Phil. I've been meaning to speak to you about that.
Okay.
You can't leave these messes around for other people to clean up.
Oh, I think that they're all. You might be. I think that it's deliberate, part of the agenda, and these are all ticking time bombs as part of the New World Order and Project 21 and all that crap that the Illuminati is putting down. And I think the Fukushima accident was a false flag operation.
Well, I wouldn't go quite so far. Having experienced a tsunami myself, I'm a believer, when a tsunami kicks your ass is kicked. And that's what happened. Fukushima.
Well, yeah, I know what happened, but I think it could have been artificially triggered. But that's
what, the tsunami?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot of interference going on with the ocean plates and everything, sucking all the lubricant out of there. It has an effect on seismic activity. I have no doubt at all about that.
Yeah.
What do they think? These are supposedly religious people who believe that God created the world. Well, what did they put all that oil in there and the joints for? If there wasn't some reason for it. So you could spread it around in the sky? Come on.
Well, we could have had there's other energy sources. We don't have to go down the road of nuclear and petrol
No.
at all. but that's the song and dance that we got sold, and so we were speaking out about that when they were starting to build the Diablo Canyon plant in 1980, 81. That's how we first met.
That's right.
Yeah.
Grandmothers of detention.
That's right. Yeah. So that's a few stories right there we could talk about. If you want to get into any of that.
Well, how the grandmothers of detention came about?
Yeah. I want to hear your version.
Well, this time it was Vanderbilt. We were down there to try and set off the test of the MX destabilizing missile, first strike weapon. Keep it out of Reagan's hands if we possibly could. So we were trying to head off the test, and we just allowed ourselves to be arrested, traveling overland toward the launch pad down in Vandenberg, which incidentally is right cheap Pajal to Diablo Canyon. Anyway, they took us and put us in the Cuesta College gym, wasn't it? I think it was the Cuesta College gym, and it was in the summer, so they weren't using it. And we had a tornado of talent organized by Wavy Gravy.
Well,
it was just fantastic.
That was at the Diablo occupation and blockade.
That was Diablo, yeah.
Yeah, that was
right.
Diablo, right.
Well, we were organizing another one at Lompoc. That's where they put us. They put us in the gym at Lompoc Federal Prison, which is on the grounds of Vandenberg Air Base. Okay, so we're actually in the federal prison there in the gym, and they want their gym back, of course.
Yeah, well, that was in March of 1980. Was it 1983? I think it was 1983, March of 1983. But a couple of years before that, we occupied Diablo Canyon.
Yeah.
In 81.
Right.
And that's when we had Wavy Gravy. It was doing the MC for the. Remember that?
Jackson Brown did shows for everybody.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, you too can get sucked up in the tornado of talent, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was about the best talent show I've ever seen, I tell you.
Yeah, and they had to make a Santa Claus costume out of toilet paper and God knows what all he found. It was amazing. What Wavy Gravy did to that 600 or so guys in there. We're all beat up and depressed and everything, Turned it into a show, man.
Yes, he did.
Great show. It was a place to be.
I mean, even the guards were digging it.
They did. They brought people from, I don't know, the sheriff was bringing people in to see it, and it was really amazing. It was that was the most memorable part of the whole experience for me.
I know, that's when people got arrested again and went back for a second. And John Trudell...
So anyway, they were... a couple of years later, we're in Lompoc Federal Prison and getting ready for... everybody's just been tossed in there, and there's several hundred people, I don't know how many. And Wavy puts up the sign-up sheet for the tornado of talent, And so I'm thinking, oh God, I've got to get a little, because I was one of the first ones in there, and the rest of the grandmothers hadn't come in yet, so we couldn't plan anything. So I'm thinking about what to do, and I rewrote the lyrics to Twisted, Annie Ross's bebop classic, It's an anthem that all the singers know. You know, my aunt was told me that I was right on my hand.
Oh yes, yes, yeah,
So
yeah,
that one.
yeah, that one, yeah.
So I repurposed it to the president told me, and wrote the whole thing out for the grandmothers when they would show up. So finally, that's our affinity group, grandmothers. And so I passed out the only copy I had, and people were just starting to check it out and everything. When they broke us up and they took me and I don't know who all, and it just disappeared us out the door out onto a bus and ended up in the middle of Arizona. But prior to that, I said, well, this is the new Twisted, and it's for the grandmothers at detention. And he says, well, where did that come from? I said, well, Frank Zappa is a friend of my sister's and her husband, and they're sculptors, and he used to come over to their yard and just marvel at them putting together all these amazing sculptures out of chair legs and, you know, whatever, stovepipe, and just beautiful stuff. And he says, how do you come up with all this stuff? And my brother-in-law says, well, necessity's a mother. And it was right after that that Zappa comes up with Mothers of Detention. So that's my story.
Okay.
That's my version.
Yeah, you
so
guys.
we were the grandmothers of detention.
That's right.
It's a long story.
You had to. You went to Florence, right?
Yeah, we were in Florence.
Yeah. And then.
That's a pretty weird deal, you know. That's part of a whole network of prisons, federal prisons, that they keep on the ready for any insurrection or anything like that. Any funny business among the folks. They've got about a dozen prisons scattered around the country under the McCarran Act of about 1949 or so. They passed this McCarran Act, and it established for the maintenance of about a dozen prisons. And they're all over the country. Nobody even knows they're there. Even the people that work here don't realize what they are. They're often used as low-level immigration facilities. That's what Florence was being used for. But they're just ready, you know, if they need them. And so we got to test it out. They flew us out there from Delita, the airstrip, little National Guard airstrip. A trip that was.
Yeah, yeah, and then we got. There's about 500 of us that time, or quite a few, and they just didn't want to deal with us really.
Yeah, they scattered us all over the country.
Yeah, they kind of, and some of the women got sent down the Civil Brand.
Yeah, that's where Ginger went.
Yeah, and that was it wasn't quite the same as a Hotel Diablo in '81 when we did the Diablo occupation.
Yeah.
But there's one thing I always remember. My John Trudell saying, at the Hotel Diablo.
Yeah.
He says they're practicing. You guys, you might be developing your skills, but they're practicing on you too. And and it's so true. So the next time around, they had more of their trip together.
Yeah.
And so
well, I guess we taught them a few things.
Yeah. Well, that was a pretty exciting times, and it's very empowering, I think.
Yeah, indeed.
For all of us. And then it just
we
kept.
all became lifelong friends out of that.
Yes, right.
That in itself was worth every bit of it.
Oh, no kidding. Marjorie is still here, hanging out, helping out.
Yeah.
like
Hi, Marjorie.
she's rock solid, you know, and so that's a good thing. We're building community is really what we're doing. You know, all this other stuff is kind of like, what do you say, a little bit of a sideshow. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that's
It's just a reason for us to get together, really. You know,
a good reason.
something to focus on, right?
A real good reason.
Yes. And, you know, I'm optimistic about the future. I think things are changing. I think the bankers are going belly up, and the Federal Reserve is bankrupt. And it just can't last. You know, it's unsustainable, and it's not coming from a place of love. And that's all we had, right? We had the love. We had the love for the earth. We had the love for each other. We had the love for a vision for a better community, a better way of doing things. And you know, so I think that's what's going to win out in the end, really.
Well, I think we've largely been true to it. I mean, we didn't win anything, but well, we're still fighting. You know, we're still in there. I don't know. It gets mighty depressing at times, but there's no point in that. So just enjoy the beautiful weather. Is the only thing I can think of.
Oh yeah, right. And
just enjoy it. That's victory in itself. Just enjoy the beautiful day.
yeah, every day. That's like that's all we have. That's all we have.
That's all we want. That's all we need.
That's right. And we're still doing it, and it's so good to connect with you again, man.
Yeah.
Now I know I can get some more stories out of you if we.
Yeah. Well,
So, why don't you just? What else? You got a lot. Yeah, let's get some. Let's get some of this down in archives, okay? Tell us another one, okay?
okay. Well, how about my best Star Spangled War story?
Yeah. Okay.
How about the MX?
Yeah. You want to tell? You want to give us a little recap on the MX?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good one. That's a good one. You know, Goat did that interview with you several years ago, but I think it's worth I think it's worth a retell. And you know, let's do that because I could start it off because I was a participant in that thing too.
You were.
Okay.
You were.
Okay, so
I was trying to join up with you and
yes.
come on Island.
That's right. So this is what happened, folks. We had formed. There was a group called the Vandenberg Action. I don't know, what was it? Vandenberg Action Coalition or something like that. I can't remember the exact name of it. But we had a lot of experience occupying Diablo Canyon, and we'd already occupied Vandenberg 2 times before that. One was in January of 1983, and then we had this is what the scenario was. They were getting ready to test the MX missile, which was capable of delivering 10 warheads to different targets, and it was they had something that was known as the bus, where once the missile got into subspace, the bus would deploy the different warheads to different targets, right? And this was a very destabilizing situation because it was basically preparing for a first strike capability. And we didn't think that was a very good thing to do, and we decided that let's see what we can do to stop the first test of the MX missile. So of course we had to go through the paces, and the first occupation in January was just kind of see what we can do, see what's happening, and the second one was more intense. A lot of us went overland and went back country, and we were the grandmothers were part of that action, and that's when we're talking about the different people going to. You guys went to Florence, and some people went down the Civil Brand. A lot of us stayed in the Lompoc. So then they still hadn't made the launch yet, but there was a scenario called when the missile was going erect or something like that, and we had some kind of support people down there to through the grapevine to say, hey, it looks like they're getting ready to launch. So we kind of had some people in Vandenberg and in the surrounding communities, San Luis Obispo, and so they put the call out that it looks like it's going to go live, and that was in June, wasn't it? I think it was in June of 1983. And so the call went out, and I said, well, you going? Who's going? And not that many people responded. A lot of people had decided to occupy Lawrence Livermore Labs up in the Bay Area. The same kind of thing was happening there. But I remembered, I made a commitment to do the Vandenberg action. So I says, okay, I'm going. Okay, I'll see you down there. And so Kayla and I don't know if we rode down together or not, but we met up with Phoebe and I can't remember this cat's name. I guess that doesn't matter anyway. But so we kind of got there late at night, and we said, okay, we're going overland, and we got dropped off, and we were doing our thing, and we spent a day or two out there, and we they were on some kind of security level and expecting us to be there or someone to be there. So we kind of had to do our hiking at night and lay low in the brush during the daytime. And after a while, we kind of said, okay, well, we've got an idea about what's going on. Maybe we could go back to let's get out of here and reconnoiter. We did some sort of surveillance, some sort of scoping the scene out. So on our way out, that's when they picked us up, and so I was doing time in yeah, well, first I went to the county jail, and then I could have bailed out at that time, and that's what Kayla did. She decided to bail out, but I says, we already had bail solidarity and all that, and we weren't going to bail out. We're gonna stay the course. So that's when I got shipped to Terminal Island, federal prison. And of course, you guys knew about that, and you were trying to, you have a family and trying to get your scene together to come down and help the cause. So I'll let you pick it up there.
Yeah, well, I was going to throw out with a couple of friends that had a Volkswagen bus. And we were going to go down together and then somehow get in there, but we didn't really have a plan at all. We just thought we'd show up at the headquarters and see what they suggested. The only thing I could think of was possibly getting on the Amtrak and rolling in that way, but that was a really long shot. In fact, they had a Jeep following the train along the track, so it wasn't likely that you could get there that way. When we got down there, it was about midnight. And we went into the headquarters, and there was just a couple of people there. Nobody who could give me any sort of a briefing on what the setup was out there. So I was really kind of in the dark here, And there was 3 people there. There was these 2 strange-looking guys who had these cameras, and they wanted to get out there and get some pictures. And then there was this kid, about a 17-year-old kid with a full set of cameras on, and he had a little tube with some maps and a couple maps, and He had a compass, and he had his shit together. So I threw in with him. And they basically just told us, well, we're going to take you in through a toxic waste dump, and then, you can just go overland and do the best you can. So that's what we did. It was about midnight or so. They let us off in this toxic waste dump, a little farming town called Casmaria. And we started overland in pitch black, so it's no moon at all. And of course we weren't using lights. So we did this all night long, and in the morning we got down into a creek bank. It was headed toward the coast. If we could follow that creek bank all the way to the coast, we had a chance of getting out onto the sand dunes unobserved. So that was the plan. And basically that's how we carried it out, except that everybody kind of fell by the wayside along the way. The kid got hypothermia or something down when we got up fairly close to the coastal road. But anyway, we made it through. I made it through. And we were beaten. I was beaten out in the sand dunes, and I almost stepped on a little spotted fawn that was curled up out there in the sand dunes. And while I was watching him, a hawk, like a red-tailed hawk, came and hovered right over me. And I mean, it was a strange feeling. It was like I was invisible. And I often wonder, was I invisible there for a part of a day? Because, I mean, I just walked right through them and they never really see me. But anyway, I got up there where they fire off the missile, and I collapsed. I was exhausted from, being at it since midnight. It was about 2 in the afternoon. When I woke up, it was probably about 5 o'clock or so. And the wind had changed and blown away the fog, and I didn't realize it, but they were about to shoot the thing. And I'm perched on the rim of this crater that they're down inside of, and the light changed from green to red, and then this weather lanyard on top of the launch tube explodes, and that's the first sound I'd heard in 12 hours, And then this MX missile starts to emerge from the launch tube. It's like on a submarine, how those things work. They're launched by
compressed air. Right.
Steam.
Yeah.
And this thing was being lifted up out of the tube silently. I had no idea how it worked or anything. And it comes up, and it was like the classic Kilroy was here, I mean, I'm looking at these 10 buses, these 10 warheads, slowly coming out of there, and then just lurching up out of there, and then the thing ignited, and I was right under it, I mean, wow, it just about pulverized me right there. But everything went smooth enough, and off it went. I just felt like a complete utter fool because I could have stopped it. I just recognized a couple of the signs. I had an air horn, one of those air horns.
Yeah.
When they came out to check everything afterwards, I let off the air horn just to let them know I was there. But they didn't come and get me. That was the strangest part.
Well,
I'm sure I was busted. But no. So I just walked on out of there. I got on the tracks and headed toward Casmalia and found a little bar there where they let me use the telephone. And the next thing you know, I'm talking to people on the radio and shit.
Yeah, you were talking to the NPR or the public radio?
Yeah, that was a cool one. There were about 4 of them, There was KPFA and everything, but then there was this one in Seattle, the newspaper up there, the Seattle Post-Intelligencer. They called me and they kind of wanted the details of how I'd kind of just infiltrated all of this security. So I told them, And they said, well, we'll get back to you. Oh, first it was NPR. Yeah, it was the NPR guy that I talked to. And he said, we'll get back to you. And I thought, well, what the hell for, you know? I mean, that's my story. And he calls back and he says, well, we checked with the Pentagon, and they say you don't exist. I thought, whoa, well, that's pretty cool. I'll take that.
Yeah.
So that's when that one ended up.
So, in other words, even if we were there occupying the site, we wouldn't have existed anyway, right?
Yeah.
Even if they knew you were there before they launched, they probably would have ignored us, right? Or
no, I don't think so. I think they would have, because they had a grandstand full of reporters just out of my sight. I couldn't see them from where I was, but they were right there. And if I had blown that air horn, they couldn't have ignored it.
Okay, but since after the launch, it was a moot point, right? We were there. We were trying to be there to stop the launch by our physical presence in a classic civil disobedience, direct action.
That's
right. So that's the way that went down. But you told me you had some interesting things happening to you when you were hiking through the, before you got to the sand dunes. And
that's where I kind of rushed it, abbreviated a little bit, but I was walking out there in the sand dunes, which is parallel with the tracks. The Amtrak tracks go right along the coast there. And then on the other side is this basin where you had the MX launch pad. And some of them are these natural sand dunes. But I'm on the other side, on the ocean side of the track. And I'm walking along, and I can see, there's dog prints there. They've been out here checking, But then I literally almost stepped on a little baby doe, a deer, a little spotted fawn. I don't know if it was a doe or not, but it was a little fawn, what I meant to say. A little spotted fawn. It was very, very light colored and had white spots on him. And he was just curled up there in the tall grass. And he just looked at me, he didn't panic or anything. He's very, very small. And I was just taken aback, I just stopped in my tracks. I didn't want to cause any harm. And this red-tailed hawk is hovering right over me, very, very close. And I was just kind of suspended, in this strange little moment. It was just beautiful. And then, then this Amtrak train came by. Boom, like that. With the Jeep following it, but they're all looking the other way. They're all looking toward the missile pad. Nobody saw me. Again, It was like I was invisible.
Yeah, and you got down to some creek or some road crossing, and you could see these soldiers patrolling, and you just kind of
That was earlier when we were making our way toward the coast. We were completely covered in this stream bed. It's a creek bed. This was in the spring, and so all of the brush and everything was all piled up in there, and you could not be seen. You could be walking right down the middle of that creek, and nobody could see you. Couldn't see anything from outside. So that's what we were doing, and it was working like a charm. So we got about halfway down there, and here's a guy sitting down on the creek bank. And look, it's Lincoln Killian, an old friend of mine from Canyon. Yeah, from Canyon. Can you believe it? And he used to run the Vocations for Social Change.
Okay.
That was this Vocation for Social Change. And he says, I had it. I can't go any further. He said, but if you, he said, I think you're going to shoot it at about 10. So you guys can go down as far as you can get by, say, 10 o'clock, and then I'll get myself up here, and I'll make a little diversion, and, so that was going to be our little strategy. And just about that time, we hear a sound just up on the road, right next to the creek. And it's an AP with a dog, a canine dude. He's got a dog.
And a canine patrol.
Yeah, a canine patrol.
Yeah.
I said, oh, fuck, that's it. We've had it. And the dog's barking. And the guy's saying, heel, damn it, heel, damn it, heel. He's not going to get dragged down into that brush. Just to nobody,
Yeah.
The dog was right on, but the guy ignored him.
Right. He didn't want to be bothered.
Yeah.
Right.
So we just froze until they passed.
Yeah. Yeah. So you had the spirits were on your side, I think. You were being
They were definitely.
you were being protected, Yeah. That reminds me, remember at Diablo we went in the back country and we were sitting up on top of the ridge there overlooking the plant, and we unfurled a big sign. I don't know what it said, but
Diablo.
yeah, they didn't like that. They didn't like that. So
they weren't going to leave us up there forever.
That's right. So they got a bunch of cops. I don't know who they were, but in a helicopter and to land up, in a certain place, and then they marched down the hill to get us, and that's how we got arrested. But I decided to go limp. And thought I was going to get beat up, roughed up, or whatever, but I didn't have a scratch on me.
I know.
That was
crazy.
It was like I was
do shit.
Yeah.
I didn't do shit, and they dislocated my thumb and everything else.
Yeah, so
I got the shit kicked out of me. And my neck was all fucked up. But look, you just let them have it, and they bounced you on every rock they passed. I saw them do it. and by the time we got down to the truck, I thought, oh my God, you must have a couple of broken ribs. And nothing, not a scratch, just stickers.
That's what I'm. Yeah.
You're completely covered with stickers.
Right. That's what I'm saying. We were protected. There was some sort of presence.
It's gotta be true.
Because otherwise I would have been all beat up, and I wasn't.
No.
Yeah. So that's when you're doing a good thing, right?
I think so. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. And then you got a lot of war stories. You want to tell any other ones? Or it doesn't have to be, it could just be any kind of thing, like, the jazz scene, We talk about going down in the South in the civil rights. You want to? You want to tell about that one? Yeah. I
went down to Mississippi with a Wobbly, if you can believe it, IWW, work crew to rebuild bombed churches, not to bomb rebuilt churches, but to rebuild bombed churches. Very unusual for an IWW work crew. But we did a good job. We went to Macomb, Mississippi, and a couple of surrounding communities, and we lived with the people down there, and the COFO workers that came through there, and even some Mennonites who were brought in to replace us before we got everybody killed. But it was right at the time of the Selma March.
What year was that? Like, is that 63 or earlier?
No, that's 65.
65, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that was about February, I think, of 65, something like that.
So you were going down there to help to rebuild a church that had been bombed?
That's right. Several of them, actually. But they were such beautiful old churches, 100-year-old churches right in the middle of these old towns. And they were replacing them with like architects, but nobody wanted to fucking the plans, and it's really shitty. But that's what we had to work with, so that's what we did.
Okay, so what was it like being in the South in those days?
Well, for me, it was a revelation because I didn't realize I'd grown up in Mississippi. I grew up in Richmond, what they call the Iron Triangle today. And that's just Mississippi. That's all that is. I found out when I went to Mississippi that I've been living there all my life. So it was perfectly familiar to me.
Okay. You have long hair then?
No.
No.
I left that at home.
You cut your hair before.
It wasn't an absolutely suicidal mission.
Yeah, okay.
We're actually trying to return in one piece if possible. And
yeah.
We did.
Yeah, so you did.
I'm grateful for that.
And what else happened there? Someone came with you.
Yeah, my Wobbly friends, Paul Cully and all those guys. And, it was well, as you can imagine, it was a strange and mystical experience. I mean, let me just put it that way. It was like all those Faulkner novels that you had to read in school, only now you're seeing the real deal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's like it brought it all to life, right?
Yes. And the light is so different there. I thought I was going to the sunny south, and it was about this time of year. And I thought I was going to where it was already warm. But the weather was just nasty when I was there. It was like sleet and hail, and it just made me say, well, now I understand why people are so ornery down here, man. Look at this weather. It's just awful. But I guess it's not like that all the time.
No, I was down there last March, and it was pretty nice, actually. It was.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
Yeah. It was.
But that was just my experience.
Yeah. Hey, did you hang out? Did you hang out in New Orleans?
Well, that was the best part of it. I can say that I actually visited New Orleans, before the disaster of Katrina.
Oh yes, right. Yeah.
And so I'm grateful for that opportunity. That's all we were trying to do, really. After we finished our work, we added our R&R for New Orleans. And New Orleans is a beautiful, beautiful city. Really a wonderful culture and everything else. My niece lives there. Yeah. So for me, it was, headed to the birthplace of jazz and all of that. But as it turned out, we only had a couple of days. And the weather, as I said, was not cooperative. And we were just worn out from the previous 2 weeks. We were in really no shape to take full advantage of the opportunity.
And you said one of the brothers, he hopped a ride with you.
Oh yeah, that was back in Macomb. Yeah, we stayed with the Martin family, a black family that had quite a reputation in the community, a very upstanding, beautiful family, about a half a dozen kids. Some of them our age. And so when it was, Mr. Martin was running for alderman, the first black man to run for city council, basically. since the Civil War. So it was a big deal, you know. They were getting they were getting stuff through their windows and all the rest of it. But one of the boys, Bobby Martin, he was he was hanging out with me after we got fired. The Quakers fired us, okay, for being a little too familiar with the black community. He was supposed to keep everything on the up and up with them, and dealing with the sheriff and all that crap. We just said, screw that, we're not playing any of these games. So they fired us as soon as they could get replacements. But we'd already done the job, so it didn't hurt anything. But when it was time for us to go, and Bobby Martin said, you know, I have a sister in San Diego. Said, can I come with you guys? And I said, sure. And so, without saying a word, he gets in the back of the Volkswagen van and crawls under some sleeping bags. You know, until we get across the bridge, across the river. Not going to be seen in a van with some white guys. Couldn't do it. You didn't even think it was worth commenting on. Just slipped under the covers there.
Yeah, and that's just the way it was for the black guys down there. Yeah.
Well, and the white ones too.
Right. Yeah, it worked both ways.
Yeah.
So some things have changed. That's
hell yeah.
You know, a lot of things have changed.
A lot of things.
Yeah. So that's good.
That heralded a real change. That wasn't just bullshit. That was the revolution. It really was. And we won that one.
Yeah.
Now, Reagan has pushed us all back. We're right back where we started, but that's the way it goes. You know, you win a few, you lose a few.
I think yeah, I think so. Yeah, so now here we are, and you said there's a whole new crop of young people in Canyon.
Yeah, that's right.
And so
a bunch of them are over in Thailand right now.
oh, that's where they're hanging out.
Yeah.
So you were
that?
Yeah, you were in the tsunami in Thailand.
Yeah, that's right. In 2004 or 5.
Yeah. You know, my son Rai was in the tsunami too. I think did I tell you that?
No.
Okay. Well, his experience was he was hanging out in Japan with his girlfriend who was teaching English as a second language to Japanese. And so they had the Christmas breaks. They said, well, let's go to Thailand for Christmas break. And so that's what they did. And they
were there on Christmas?
Yeah, they were there when it happened. So what happened?
When it happened, Christmas. It was basically the day after Christmas.
Yeah, I know, but they got there before Christmas. You know, Christmas.
Yeah, but what I was saying was, were they there for Christmas?
Yeah,
that means that they were there for the tsunami.
They were there for. That's what I'm saying. They were there for the tsunami.
Yeah.
And what happened to them is they had checked into some place and they were scheduled to go out on do some scuba diving out on a boat.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they left their passports on shore or what they did, but they were out at sea when it all happened. So when they came back, that's what they were greeted by. And he said the rocks were appearing out of the rocks that were submerged. You know.
Yeah, that's right.
And then all of a sudden these rocks are there that weren't there before, and what's going on, right? And everything the sea was changing. And so when they got back, so that's how he survived it, or maybe something else would have happened, but that
was the best place to be.
That was the best place to be. So they were out on the water scuba diving when that happened. And then of course when they saw the devastation, they took their resources, whatever they had, and they helped do some cleanup. They helped get food. Everyone just kind of pitched in. So what was your
different from Katrina?
Yeah, what was your experience?
A very strange one. We had a couple of rogue friends, a tuk-tuk driver and another guy who was an ex-monk. A couple of rascals for sure. And they used to take us around and show us all kinds of interesting things. But on Christmas, we were all at the bungalow, and we had a watermelon that we'd been pickling all day long in the refrigerator. And we had a couple of Irishmen staying at the bungalow with us. And so all of us were just getting schnockered on this watermelon, right?
Okay.
And we had plans early the next day, just like your friend, to go diving. We were going to go on a dive trip. So we weren't planning to stay up too late that night, but we were up around 3 o'clock or so, I think. Anyway, we finally crashed, and at about just the first crack of dawn, these Thai guys who were sleeping on the floor, they said, "Papa, wake up, you come with us. Papa, you come with us." And I said, what? I can barely open my eyes. And so I get up and go out and get in the tuk-tuk with them and zoom, off we go somewhere. And they basically took me to the center of Phuket Island. It's a rather large island attached to the mainland. And so, you can get well away from the beach where you can't see the water or see the land, any of that stuff. And that's where we were, on this farm. They took me to show me this farm. And while we were there, they turned on the TV and learned of this big wave. So I didn't understand what was going on at all. Well, we got in the tuk-tuk and headed back, and when we got to the beach, I could see the damage. I could see where the boats were all churned up down there in the harbor. All the people were up on the hill, and everything was mass confusion. And I thought, what the hell's going on, And so we go back to the bungalow, and it's been shuttered, and everybody's gone, but there's no particular signs of any devastation there. So I decided to wait there while Nippon and Mr. Dom, they take the tuk-tuk and help people find various people that they're all looking for. So I'm sitting there, and Papa from the bungalow, he comes up on his motorbike, takes off his helmet, and says, "Big wave, boom!" And sweeps his arm, and he says, "Go look." So I go down to the beach, and man, that's the first I'd seen of it. But it was still, the water was still flowing back out, and we're just a couple of blocks from the beach. But located behind this little hill, it stopped it. So we didn't get it at all. Can you believe that?
Yeah, well, that's...
We were closer to it than perhaps anybody, to the epicenter of the earthquake. Off
right.
Sumatra.
Yes. And you're with Seaira.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Seaira didn't come with me. She was in the bungalow, and then Mama woke her up and took her up on top of the hill. So that's where she was when I got back. People were taking care of them and giving them orange juice, and it was just wonderful the way people reacted and responded. They just opened their homes and just took care of one another. And I swear to God, the first thing I thought was, I hope to God I never have to see this happen in my country, because I know what it'll be like.
Yes. Well, the thing I've been through here in Takilma, we had a wildfire.
Yeah.
And people were talking about evacuating, and if the wind had not had shifted, we would have all been, the whole valley would have gone up in smoke. But the winds changed. But during that time, I saw a lot of people. It pulled people together in a good way. People were taking care of each other, and so I think it would still happen in this country from what I've seen. And Hurricane Katrina.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I didn't mean to be totally negative on that one.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying that when it came time to respond to a really major, devastating calamity, that we had all the warning in the world. Look what they came up with at Katrina.
Yes, Katrina.
I don't think that can be forgiven.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. I think these things are deliberate. I think it's part of an agenda that's being implemented.
Well, that certainly was. Yeah.
Yes. But like I said, we don't have to worry too much about that agenda, because that agenda is going out the window with the bankers and the whole shebang. It's like a house of cards that's falling down.
Right on.
And I think you can bet on that one. So you hung out in Thailand after that, and that was another whole scene.
Oh, that was a wonderful story. That one, I was there with my daughter to get some dental work done. And so, because of the nature of the dental work, I couldn't just pull up and come home like all the other tourists. I had meetings scheduled for the next couple of months. So we stayed. And there were a few others who were there for various reasons. The Scandinavians all went home. They were devastated. They'd suffered most of the casualties, in fact. But the Russians were still there. The Italians, the various English speakers. There were still quite a few people there. And we formed ad hoc relief groups. And we went around to the various temples, which is where the people were being cared for, not in any government compounds, but in the Buddhist temples, Wats. That's the way it works in Thailand. You go to your temple for help, and they take care of you in times like that. And then the government responds eventually. And that's the way it worked. But we went along to make sure that nobody was being overlooked. And we found, of course, that many people were being overlooked and being forced to live in these horrific conditions in these camps for prolonged amounts of time. And so we offered, what do you need? And they said, we need boats, fishing boats. We lost all the small, our 12-meter long-tail fishing boats. So we set out to build them. And my daughter and I actually built a 9-meter long-tail fishing boat, complete with all the equipment and the engine, brand new. So we gave it to a guy who lost his boat, and it was all done in a little Muslim village, if you can believe that one.
So you helped to build it.
Yeah. Seaira and I built it. My daughter and I built it, along with the assistance of the craftsmen. But this was in a Muslim village,
Mm-hmm.
where women don't usually do stuff like that.
You don't tell Seaira that.
it was a cross-cultural experience.
Yeah.
Of the first order.
Uh-huh.
So we say.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was pretty cool the way that came down, and probably you'll never forget that.
And while we're doing that, in this very, very remote village, who shows up but Sam, our Haitian friend in Canyon. Grew up in Canyon, born in Haiti. He became part of this Discovery Channel thing, and they had planned to be in this very place long before the tsunami ever happened. And we ended up meeting up with them there.
Yeah, it was.
That's crazy.
It's small world, huh? It's small world, huh? Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yes. Yeah. So what's happening in the Bay Area these days? Anything? Any change? Any sea changes happening? Anything that you see that's that gets you excited?
Oh, there's a lot of art going on. There's a lot of art. There's a lot of music. A lot of neighborhood. Yeah, I'd say there's a lot of positive, good vibration. I think the spring is coming on with a lot of energy.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's a lot of things happening up here too. People are getting their scenes together more and more, and
you know, as far as political, I have to put it out. I have to shout out from my homies in Richmond, Gail McLaughlin and the Richmond City Council taking on the banks on the foreclosure deal. You've heard about that, haven't you?
No, I don't follow the news very much on that. What happened?
Oh man, this is right down your alley, Leo.
Yeah.
the Richmond City Council under Mayor McLaughlin Gail McLaughlin, they have decided to red tag all the abandoned and boarded up properties that Wells Fargo and all these motherfuckers have left scattered all over Richmond.
You mean you're talking about houses that were foreclosed on?
Yeah, they just boarded up and abandoned.
Uh-huh. Yes.
And bringing in the rats, you know,
right,
and the crime and everything else.
Yeah. Huh.
And so the mayor says, well, we're taking them over under eminent domain.
Awesome.
We're going to put the people back in them.
The same people who owned them?
If possible.
Yeah, if possible.
Yeah, if they're still around, you know.
Yeah. Well, that's cool, man. Yeah, that is right up my alley.
That made the front page of the New York Times. That's like firing a shot right across their bow.
Mm-hmm. So, people, they have to repair their houses. They get utilities back on. How's that all work if they're...
Well, I don't know. It's a big battle. Of course, they've got every lawyer in Wall Street attacking them. So it's probably all on hold, but they're doing it.
They don't want to set a precedent, do they? A precedent. A precedent,
they're
right?
Terrified.
Yes.
Terrified.
Right.
The March that roared, man, I'm telling you.
Well, you know, really, the power is in the hands of the people. We just have to realize that, you know.
That's all there is to it.
Yes.
And here's a shout out from Gail McLaughlin for pointing that out. The power is in the hands of the people.
It always has been. We just been manipulated so badly. I don't know why I'm just bringing this up, but you know that all the kids are on drugs, you know, like Ritalin and things like that, right?
Yeah.
That's just another part of that whole that whole control scene, and the fluoride in the water, and it's very insidious how these to dumb us down, to keep us in our place. And if we realize the power that we have, then the game's over.
Yeah, I don't need any more dumbing down, man. I'm dumber than my car already. It's too much.
Oh, I consider you to be a genius, to tell you the truth. I think you're a wonderful guy. And, I don't know. I know you are. We were talking about... we were talking about building domes the other day.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a whole nother chapter we could go into if you want to.
Yeah, well, domes and also hyperbolic paraboloids. We built one in Thailand. I think I've introduced a new art form into Thailand.
Oh, cool.
It's a hyperbolic paraboloid made out of poles.
Okay, you're gonna have to do some explaining there.
Can't be explained.
What's that? What's that word you just said? Break it down.
Some things cannot be explained.
Okay.
Hyperbolic paraboloid. That's all you can say about it. And it's made of poles. You can, like my house in Canyon, my old house.
Yeah.
That was the first one. But this one in Thailand is the second one. And it's a new concept in framing.
And what's the advantage structurally?
Well, the hyperbolic paraboloid is a basic universal shape. In fact, there are many models of the universe that show the universe shaped like a hyperbolic paraboloid. It's a minimal shape between any 4 points. It's like a soap bubble.
A soap bubble. Okay.
Yeah, you know how a soap bubble stretches between any 4 points?
Okay.
Yeah, it makes a saddle shape. A soap bubble makes a saddle shape.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a hyperbolic paraboloid. That's saddle shape.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a minimal surface. And it's made of all straight lines. That's the tinker right there. It's a double curved surface made entirely of straight lines. Now, have I explained it?
I'm more confused now than I was before. But how's that?
I warned you.
But how's that? How's that for a living space? How's that like? Is it?
Oh, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, you were in my old house before in Canyon, right?
Yeah, I've been there.
You've been in there.
Well,
that's it. So I built one of those up in Thailand, and you can see the connection with like Oriental art and design. It's just a natural. So I slipped one in there.
Okay. Yeah, and now they have something. They could build it.
Yeah, it's inspired.
Yeah,
and it's already survived the biggest flood in 400 years. It didn't phase it.
Okay. How'd you make the connections?
They're half-notched with a chainsaw. Not a chainsaw, but a skill saw.
Half-notched, like half laps, huh?
Yeah.
And then spiked or screwed together, or what?
Yeah, bolted. together.
Okay, bolted.
A
Okay.
half-inch bolt.
All right.
Half-inch bolt.
Yeah,
The poles are roughly 4 to 6 inches in diameter.
okay, so you just half lapped them.
And the poles are all the same length. They're all 24 feet. And it's roughly formed around a tetrahedron.
Yeah, okay.
But it's got huge cantilevers going off in 3 directions. And it's got a peak in the center. And it's just a beautiful structure.
Okay, now a tetrahedron is a four-sided, it looks like a pyramid, but it's 4 sides instead of 5.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, and it doesn't have a square base.
Right, yeah. It's 4 triangles.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
3 triangles makes up your pyramid, and 1 triangle makes up your base. And that triangle base could also be the base for 3 more that are cantilevered out from there.
Right, and it could just keep on going like that.
You can, yeah.
Yeah.
That would be an octet truss.
Uh-huh. So you, how many square feet would that be, living
Oh, it's
space?
a couple hundred.
A couple hundred, yeah.
Yeah.
And then how'd you roof it?
Well, that's the problem, because you have a beautiful double curved surface made up of poles on roughly 3 or 4 foot centers. And that's all you need. You're finished.
Uh-huh.
So now, what are you going to do? Are you going to roof it? Well, okay, how do you want to roof it? It's up to you. Anything goes, you know. So you can use sheet metal. You can use. On my house, I use plywood, but that's cheating a little bit. On this one up there, they used glass, and it looked pretty good.
Like a thatched roof?
Yeah, they did. They did a rough thatch on it.
Yeah.
They got some guys to come in and do that,
Mm-hmm.
and that works pretty good. Now I don't know that that's still lasting after a couple of years, but they might have had to rethatch it. But anyway,
Yeah.
ply domes are another minimal structure.
Now that's a Buckminster Fuller's work right there.
That's right. Well,
Yeah.
actually, more likely his associates, Kenneth Nelson, people like that. He didn't do everything himself.
Yeah, well he had
But, yeah, he had the organization.
yeah.
He had the talent.
Well, we're getting ready to put up
Dymaxion Disney.
yeah. So we're getting ready to put up another ply dome here.
Yeah, another bouncy.
Yes, another one. And I just
That's
laid
great.
out the first the first sheet with the 4 corners, the bolt patterns,
Yeah.
and the 4 corners of the plywood, 3/8 plywood. And
Oh, you got the 3X.
I got the 3/8. I got the T111.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
So, a box of bolts and nuts and washers and all that.
So
And
you're ready to rock and roll.
yeah, when I get the time.
It only
do.
takes a day.
Well, more than that because I have to cut the window frames.
Oh, okay. Well,
And-
then it
and-
takes a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and do that. Get all those pieces. I want to get all my ducks in a row before we say boom. Maybe we'll get a video of it.
Yeah.
I think that would be
why not?
a good idea. We'll get a video of it. And so that's happening. That's gonna happen.
right.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Hey, anything else you want to tell the folks? We got people listening around the world right now.
Well, I'm listening to you too, people.
Yeah.
So
So
let's all do a nice big fat right now. What do you say?
you want?
Ready?
You ready?
Om on the range, okay?
Yeah, okay. You want to Om? Om on the air?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, ready?
Let's Om on the air.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Okay, ready?
Well, that's a good start.
There we go. So just keep it going, folks out there.
Right on.
Yeah. And I don't know. Maybe it's time to shut this operation down. Or you anything else you want to talk about?
Just this year is going to be so much better than the last one.
I think it is, man. I think it is. Yeah. Yes. And you hang in there, all right?
I will. I'm hanging in there as best as I can.
And
you too, Leo.
yeah, and send my love to the family and friends, etc.
Okay, we're having a little get together on Sunday down here, and we'll keep you all in mind.
Well, for sure, man. And I'll get down there one of these days. When I'm all booked up. What can I say? I got so many things. You know what? Just like you,
Popular, man.
You got a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
And besides, I like it.
Busy man.
I like it here.
Busy man. I got people you can talk to.
and I like it. I love it.
Talk to my people.
I love it here. I love it. I love being here. I don't even want to leave the valley. You know what I'm saying?
Well, thank you so much for calling, Leo. It's been a real pleasure just rambling on. And I hope people were patient with us a little bit. But it's been a true pleasure.
Hey,
And I love hooking up with all of you folks. It's been a long time.
Yes, and I just want to let you know I love you to pieces, and I have so much respect for you and who you are and what you've done with your life. You just
well, thank you so much, Leo.
Yeah.
The feeling is more than mutual.
Yeah. So we'll keep on keeping on, and thanks a whole lot for coming on the air.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I love you madly.
Okay, we'll talk again.
Okay, ciao.
Okay, good night. Well, that was my good friend Barry Smith, founder of the. That's my friend Barry Smith, founder of the, founding member of the alternative community Canyon, which is in the Bay Area between Oakland and Moraga, up in the hills there. And we have a little bit of history there. So I hope you all enjoyed that little blast from the past, shall we say. And I think it's probably about time we played some more music. So let's see. Let me get my trip together here. We're going to play this song by Afro-Celt Sound System, and it's going to be this one right here. So you're listening to the Spaceman Show, Freak Radio Takilma, and I want to welcome all the folks out there that are tuning in. And we started this out as a pirate radio station, and now we're on the internet and we're going worldwide, so that's pretty cool. And I want to thank my friend Robert Stone for making that happen. And let's sit back and listen to some music for a while, and we'll see what else we can come up with as the night goes on.